Okay, now that we have it all sealed down, we're ready to shrink the covering. But first, I want to show you how I treat my corners. People always wonder, how you do this. What I do is when I iron down to this side, I leave a little extra there. And then I come in from the other side and I iron down, and this leaves a little tab. As you can see, the little tab sticking up here of the two pieces of covering that have come together. Then what I do is I take my scissor and I just trim it off like so, and then take my iron and tip it over, and that completes the corner for me, and that looks pretty nice, I think. So now let's do our shrinking. When I shrink, especially a flat piece such as this, I don't want it to warp. Generally I have both sides covered, but for today I want to show you how I shrink my covering before I cover the other side. I lay it down on a flat surface, lay down some weight to hold it, make sure that it's flat. I take my covering iron and I don't go directly into it with the iron, but I sort of blow the heat over the material. As you can see, the material begins to shrink, and shrink real good. By blowing the air over the material and tipping the gun slightly, it allows more heat to get onto it rather than go directly into it. Looks like my iron wasn't working. My heat gun wasn't working. There we go. Now it's starting to. Then I'll transfer it down here and make sure that I hold it flat. So what we're trying to do actually is to hold the part as flat as possible. There again, you see how I manage the heat over the material itself. All right, now we have the, and generally I'll leave it lay there a little bit so it cools off. I see a little place here where I haven't ironed down real good. There we go. So we'll let it set for a little bit to cool off, and then as you can see, it's pretty much wrinkle free. Okay, now while it's laying flat, I take my iron and I've got it turned up now to the shrinking temperature, and I run the iron over the part to iron down the material to the cross pieces and leading and trailing edge. Just glide your iron over it and just iron that right down. And in the process of doing so, what you achieve is a covering that won't wrinkle as much in the sun, because the covering has been ironed down to the airframe itself, and it'll give you a much better covering job. Then you can just glide your iron over it. That's all you have to do. And doing so, you'll you'll get it down very good. So there is the finished part. As you can see, oh, I got a little wrinkle up here. We got to go back and do something with that to make sure. There we go. Now, there's what I call a perfect covering job. And you can do it as well. Just, it's not that hard. And generally, it's a good idea to take to start with, if you haven't covered in a while, to take a flat piece such as I have here, a very simple piece, and start with that and learn to understand the material that you're working with, and make sure that you understand it so that you will be able to go through and get a successful covering job. Thank you.